Small things add up every day, and it doesn't have to be this momentous leap, and you don't have to climb Everest in a single day. This is true for so many things, but especially when it comes to fitness. And today I have a special guest on the podcast, Dr. Mark Manera from Supply Chain Fitness, and we talk all about how his company helps truck drivers reach their fitness goals by taking a habit-based, holistic approach. So to hear exactly what that means, make sure you stay tuned for this entire episode. Dr. Mark, thank you so much for coming back on the stream. I know you were here with us last year in January, so I'm super excited to see if I can live up to Zach Miller and his interviewing prowess here on this episode here today. Super excited to be here with you. And for those of us who didn't hear last year's episode, do you mind catching us up on what is Supply Chain Fitness and what do you do?
Yeah, first off, Billy, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm excited for the conversation. Always talking to my TTT family, and Zach's a great guy, and I'm sure you'll bring your own flair to it. So don't even try to compare yourself. Just be Billy, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so not heard what supply chain fitness is. So we work with trucking and insurance companies to help their drivers to help mitigate risk and also improve turnover for their drivers. And we're really focused on the health and fitness of drivers, both physical fitness and mental health, and just improving the quality of life of drivers overall. And I think our whole mission is to help make the trucking industry a healthier place.
And yeah, there's a lot of health tolls that takes on a driver's body when they're out there on the roads because they're sitting behind the wheel for so many hours every single day. So what is the biggest challenge for truckers that you see in trying to maintain their fitness and really be able to keep that healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, we can get into the weeds of like when you look at some of the research and some of the statistics on some of the specific health and fitness, or I guess just health and medical side of things that drivers face on a everyday basis and just are really common in trucking. But I think just in general, when you start looking at some of the barriers that get stacked up against drivers to make it more difficult, I really think the two biggest ones I hear drivers complain about and talk about a lot is the lack of time and being drained after sitting behind the wheel for 10, 11 hours a day. And so I think those two things fundamentally are some of the biggest barriers that drivers have to face. And that's been some stuff that in the last 3 to 6 months, we've been really thinking about, okay, how can we not only provide a personalized health and fitness for, but how can we start to alleviate and take things off of drivers' plate to help open up the number one resource we all have, which is time. And it's something that a lot of drivers just lack in general because of the constraints of their day-to-day.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so they, especially when I go out and travel and I drive a long ways and everything like that, is you're sitting behind the wheel, so it doesn't really feel like you're doing that much. But it is. It's really draining. And you get super tired and you're like hungry too. And so it's like this weird thing is, all I've done is sit all day, but it's my body's like extremely tired and worn out from a day of driving. I think that's super important. How do you help drivers with the mental side of things of just being mentally exhausted, physically exhausted as well after driving so long?
Yeah, so we're in the works of some stuff. I don't want to talk about it right now, but I think just in general from the mental health side of things, I think you can go a couple of different routes. And I think one of the biggest ones is just the amount of isolation a lot of drivers face on the road. And for some drivers, they don't really have that person that's checking in on them, who's trying to push them towards goals, both career goals, health goals, whatever it is, and someone who's just checking in on them as a person and saying, "Hey, Billy, how are you doing? What are you going through today? What's the frustrations? What emotions you feeling? What are you doing?" And I think that goes a long way for someone who just out on the road, spending long times just thinking to themselves. A lot of drivers do talk on the phone a ton and have friends, which is awesome, but I think a lot of them just miss that accountability piece and miss someone in their life from a health and fitness standpoint who is checking up on them, seeing how they're doing, and trying to personalize and give them suggestions.
Yeah, definitely. That's great because we all need that. We all need somebody who's going to check in on us, especially your mental health side of things. I know I was listening to a TED Talk recently where this guy, he was in a really low point in his life and really low, and so he just decided to send a text message to 10 friends. And it was a very generic message, and I couldn't quote it right here of what he said, but it was just something very generic. But he got so many responses back from that. And then he ended up creating a whole website where you can just go and get these like motivational texts sent to you. And he's received so much feedback from so many people about just, I really needed that today, or things like that, because even if it is a generic kind of message, it can be, exactly what you need in a certain period of the day. So I think that's really awesome that you're helping on that side of things as well. So that's really cool.
I always say that I think physical and mental health go hand in hand. And a lot of times when one goes down, the other one's closely following. And on the same front, when one goes up, the other one typically follows as well. And I think it would be really narrow thinking to try to improve the physical health and not touch the mental health side of things. And I think, especially just with the nature of trucking, especially over the road, I think that it's in the most positive way. I think mental health can be a little bit of a taboo subject for some people, and some people are too manly man to talk about it. But I think we all struggle with it, and it presents itself in different manners, and different people want to respond and go about improving their mental health in different ways. And I think it's really important to meet each person where they're at and be that rock for them during difficult.
Definitely, because the idea that, oh, I'll just power through, I'm strong. For many people, it's like a mark of, though I'm be strong. But we all go through ups and downs. We're not always emotionally strong all the time, or mentally able to cope with everything that's going on. I think a lot of people are changing to be more open to that side of things, where it's I can go and find help and not see it as me being weak or not strong enough, but something like I just need help right now, and then I can get through this time period and I'll be good again.
Yeah, and I think it's a spectrum, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't work on your mental fortitude and mental toughness and working through being more resilient, but that does not mean that you can't go seek mental health treatment. You can't talk about the struggles you're going with other people and get different perspectives. And honestly, for me, I feel like those moments when I do open it up, and I personally think bringing some of those topics up are some of the hardest conversations you can have, because you're very scared that someone's going to judge you about the way you're feeling. And I think it can take a lot of mental strength just to open up and have that conversation. I think it's definitely a really complex situation and topic, but it's one that I think just in general need to get some of these things out of your head. And a lot of the times when it just keeps building up, it makes it seem like this huge mountain you have to climb. But a lot of times when you just let it out, there is of this instant relief of, oh my gosh. And I'm not saying all problems are right away, but I think a lot of people would be surprised of just having that conversation or saying that thing, how much just mental clarity and mental relief that gives them from just starting the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I've been in different situations before where I've gone to a professional and seeking professional help mentally. And it's always so interesting that you go in there and you're just talking about things that you probably thought of so many other times. But the way that you're able to talk to them and then they are able to lead you a certain way that you just never thought of before, it can be really enlightening and really helpful for moving you forward and getting past any mental blocks that you might see along your way. So I think it's super important for sure. And you guys also have an app, right, that you help with drivers, giving them different tips and things for keeping their fitness out on the road. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so we have an app-based platform that's right on the driver's phone. Through the app, we do a lot of the personalized coaching, both on the eyes and the nutrition and the accountability side of things. The app, we personalize an exercise program that's based off of their starting point, what they enjoy doing, what they can do on a consistent basis, how much time they have, because there's tons of studies out there that 5 minutes at a time is way better than nothing. And so I think that a lot of people just feel like they need to set aside a couple hours a day, and you don't need to go overboard here. We can start super small and build over time. And we've got things of guys or stretches that they can do in the back of their truck, outside of the truck, or even at home, depending on what type of trucking they do. And then on the nutrition side of things, I think a lot of people in trucking, but I think it's our culture in general, take this all or nothing approach to diets and nutrition, where it's, all right, I'm starting to diet tomorrow. I'm not going to eat this, that. I'm not going to, I'm going to stay 6 feet away from every sweet and carb there is. And it's setting themselves up for failure day one, because it's so unrealistic and so unsustainable. And so what we found to be way more successful is taking a habit-based nutrition, focus on building one habit at a time, something that they can do at any time if they're at the Love's truck stop, or if they're at home, or if they're just trying to do it inside their truck and eating food from the grocery store. and building those habits into their daily routine. And as it becomes just a part of their regular day-to-day life, then stacking other habits on top of it and just really focusing on, hey, Billy, your health goes with you for the rest of your life. I want you to start making some of these small changes and think to yourself, in 5 years, can I see myself still doing this habit? If the answer is no, then we need to start a little bit smaller, right? And if the answer is yes, then awesome, we're on the right path. Let's get this going. And a lot of the times you're on the right path if you feel like it seems like you're starting too small, right? And as you build those small wins up, and I think this is even more important in trucking because of all these barriers in lifestyle and lack of time, is let's just start small. It took you 40 years to get to where you're at. It's going to take you some time to get you back to your goal and where you want to be. And so there's no rush here. And let's just focus on putting in the work every single day and checking the boxes and making it a part of your regular routine. And I think that's our focus. And then on the last aspect, the biggest pillar on accountability is just really helping them stay accountable to it, having someone who's checking in on them and make sure that, hey, you're not only doing this for yourself, but you're doing this because Mark's going to call you or send you a text and say, did you do this habit, right? Or did you get your workout in? And I think that extra external accountability goes a long way for people. And like I said earlier, something that a lot of people don't have. And I think it's a game changer for most.
Because having somebody there who's on your side, who's cheering you on every day, that can be extremely motivating and also really helpful when you're going into the Love's truck stop and you're like, oh, should I pick up that Twinkie or should I get the apple? It's just being able to make those choices because like later that day, you're gonna have to report and say, hey, oh, I chose the Twinkie today. And so I really don't want to say that later today. So just that extra friction can help be able to really enhance. What do you see in those? You were talking about small habits, building them up. What are some examples of small habits that somebody you might be listening here could be able to really start implementing tomorrow and be able to start seeing that in their fitness the way they want to?
And before I get to that, I want to say I completely subscribe to the lifestyle of you don't have to hate your life to live a healthy one. I don't know, I might judge you a little bit if you pick Twinkies as your go-to snack. I think those calories could be Reese's or some type of chocolate or ice cream or something like that, but you definitely don't have to cut out all of those things to be healthy. It's just in moderation and it's that balancing act, just like most things in life. And from a habit standpoint, I think it depends on what kind of where you're wanting to go from. From an ice standpoint, I think that could be as something as easy as, hey, every time I get out of the truck, I'm going to do 10 squats, right? Or every time I put the truck in park for the end of the day, I'm going to put my tennis shoes on and I'm going to go out for a 10-minute walk. It could be something as easy as that. On the nutrition side of things, there's so many different goals. For example, I had one driver, he struggled with drinking a lot of Pepsi throughout the day. And it's really hard to lose weight and control your blood sugar when you're drinking cans of 40 grams of sugar every single day while driving. And so our only thing we worked on was switching from regular soda to some diet or zero calorie soda and otherly moving to water and other zero calories. From eating style, I always subscribe and I always really like the idea of when you're trying to make some changes to nutrition, try adding things to your day-to-day routine instead of acting. Because when you subtract, your mind's, oh crap, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. But then if you say, all right, I'm going to try to eat a serving of lean protein like chicken or whatever protein that you choose or you enjoy, or if you're vegetarian, there's beans and all these other vegetarian options. But eating protein at every single meal. Protein fills you up. It's really good for you. It builds muscle. It helps you recover. It keeps you fuller for longer because carbs you burn through is depending on the type of carbs, and then you're hungry again. So if you eat more protein, then you typically don't snack as much throughout the day. And so that could be something that you're just adding protein to every single meal. You're not taking anything else away, but because you're doing that, all of a sudden you're not grabbing the bag of Doritos around 2 o'clock and mindlessly eating while driving or mindlessly eating while on the computer. Or maybe another habit is just trying to get more fruits and vegetables in, right? If you eat protein at every meal, 1 or 2 servings of fruits and vegetables at every meal, it's hard just doing those two things and not caring about what else you eat. Most people would be healthier and make progress towards their goal. I'm not saying they wouldn't get all the way to their goal, but would make progress towards their goals by just doing those two things and not worrying about anything else, right? Because by doing those two things, some other things will auto regulate and change in the process. I think a lot of the times, part of the thing is just helping people to not overcomplicate it because it's really easy for me included to try to overcomplicate it and make these perfect small plans that then one thing goes wrong and it all explodes and then I'm back to square one.
I understand that. And that's a lot of it too, is not having that catastrophic mindset of, oh, because there's one thing wrong, oh, it's all over. It's okay, I did my best today, then, and I might have not had as much meat and veggies each meal like I was trying to, or might have not have met my goal. But tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to meet my goal. And it's a new day. Tomorrow is always a new day. It doesn't have to be the end of the world just because you didn't meet the goal that day, which is super important to realize. And having that coach to help you realize that is great as well.
Or if it happens at lunch, you get dinner, you get another shot. Or if it happened at breakfast, you got two other shots the rest of the day. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. And in terms of mobility for truckers, being able to have the stretching and getting rid of like soreness and things like that, what are some tips that you might have in that area?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and for people listening, I didn't explain, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. So my background's in the rehabilitation, in the musculoskeletal injury, aches, pains, sores, all this world. And I think for anyone who's having a specific issue that is been around for a while or giving you a lot of trouble, I would really highly recommend you speak to a doctor and speak to a physical therapist and get a personalized approach. I think for the everyday person who just, most people over the age of whatever, have some type of ache or pain that they're dealing with. And a lot of the times, some of those things work themselves out by just moving a little bit more, right? You can mess around with some different stretches, you can mess around with some different exercises and see if you're having a certain issue. If one alleviates it, sometimes it will give it more pain. So staying a little bit away from those. But typically, a lot of the times, especially for some of these shorter term things that just pop up, just getting some blood flowing in those areas and going for a walk or doing some stretching that hits those joints or muscle groups. A lot of times those things just over time fix themselves and work themselves out. And if they don't, then I can't tell you anything because it's your body's very personalized and it's a very complex organism. And you need to go get personalized help and have someone who sees you, if that's through telehealth, if you're out on the road, or if that's in person. And so that's what I'd recommend. But at the end of the day, if you sit 11 hours a day and then you immediately go and lay and watch Netflix in the back of your truck. Those two things are typically a recipe of have some aches and pains that don't go away super easily. So just getting out and going for a walk or doing some stretching or doing some exercises with the resistance bands. Doing those things are moving in the right direction and typically will start making things feel a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really great tip. And I know that some changes are happening in terms of with the electrification of some trucks in the future as we move towards that era. Do you see changes happening in terms of health and different aspects of a driver no longer being on top of a vibrating engine compared to having that a quieter ride and smoother ride? What do you see is the future for that?
Yeah, to be 100% honest, I'm definitely not the subject matter expert on vibration and the impact that has on the driver. And I know I've definitely read some stuff on back pain and some other musculoskeletal injuries with the amount of bouncing and some of this other stuff. So I definitely think that there's some impacts there. But in general, I think that the goal with any new technology coming in is that it starts to make the lifestyle easier, make the experience better for the driver. And I think that this is another great example of hopefully cutting down on the amount of vibration that a driver has to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, definitely. That would be super helpful. And I love to ask this question just because I get a lot of very different. What are you currently learning right now?
So I'm super deep in all the AI stuff. That is what
So am I.
it's like super intriguing, really interesting. Yeah, I'm like going down the rabbit hole of learning about large language models and the different types of machine learning. And I just fundamentally think it's going to change the world and maybe not all the way we interact, the impact that some of these day-to-day tasks that we do that can be automated and can be improved over time and messing around with some of these AI. ChatGPT is obviously the super popular one, but even some of these other ones. And I've been really fascinated about the opportunity of some of these open source AI platforms like ChatGPT. And there's a couple of different ones, and I think more and more are going to come out and opening up when some of these major players of Meta even is talking about it. I know Google had a pretty interesting announcement last week, and some of these other major platforms are doing open source, but the opportunity that startups have to take their API and build on top the open source and the large language models that are presented. Because most people are not going to be able to get billions of dollars to compete with an open AI and build out some type of chat GPT or language model, but we can utilize that and really use it specifically for our niche problem. And I think that there's just going to be so much impact on day-to-day life in 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I've been playing around with it a lot as well. And it's just, there's going to be so much impact that we can't even really foresee right now, just how much
Yeah.
it's really going to impact, especially since they are going to have more and more iterations of this where it has more and more data to train on that it can then produce more accurate results from. And I think one of the really awesome points is there's talking with it and just asking questions and trying to get answers, but being able to do prompt engineering, I've gotten really into that as well, where you're asking the questions and being able to lead the AI where you want it to go. I think that's like a huge difference maker between anybody who wants to use the resource and then those who want to just take it to the next level, is being able to get the AI to do what you want it to do. Because when I was first working with it, it was, oh, this is, I don't know, it's a tool, but I'm not using it correctly. I've got like a hammer trying to screw into the wall or whatever. It's like working, but not exactly the way I want it to. Then when I figured out about prompt engineering, I was like, whoa, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's like the whole thing, right? It's going to come to a point, and it's starting to come to a point where the entry level opportunity is how good of a prompt that you can give it, because it will dramatically increase how the output of it. And I know you're on the coding side of you code and are an engineer as well. And the GitHub Copilot and some of the ability that people on the side of things are going to be able to like work at 20 times your output because of these new copilots or these new things that can help you along the process is just wild to me. And I think there's just such an opportunity.
There really is. And I've been using it a lot for my coding as well, because a lot of coding is going out there and trying to figure out the answer to what you're trying to do and see if anybody else has done it. Well, the chat GPT, you can just type in your question, say, hey, I've got this code. It's not working because of this reason. And it goes, oh, this is why it's not working. And this is what you can do to change it. And it's what? And it just goes and writes it for me. I'm like, oh, wow, that was amazing. Copy, paste, done.
And I saw one that was more of a, what is it, design.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Interface. Yep.
yeah, and it was just like type in what you want and then it creates the UX interface. Like I'm creating an app login page and it just pulls up and you go. And it's crazy.
Wow.
And I think the impact that it'll have trucking as well and some of the quality of life of driver, there's your little bit of a preview of some of the things we're working on the back end. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. And it's something that's really interesting to me.
Definitely, because I think so many of these things can be applied to so many different fields, like even in trucking and with just the quality of life, because that's what this is really going to do. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, it's going to take my job and all this stuff. And it's no, this is going to improve and make your job 20 times easier in so many different ways, because we're going to have the technology to be able to do those simple things that you couldn't possibly do because you just don't have the enough bandwidth, enough resources to go out on the internet and find the 5 billion different websites that all talked about this. And it's, oh, we're just going to combine it all together and put it into an answer for you like immediately. And it's, oh, wow.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So that's what I'm learning.
Definitely. I think it's great. And what is one takeaway that you would like people to have who are listening here? One takeaway from this episode.
The best time to start is today and make some small changes. And I think even the smallest of changes can make a huge impact if done consistently. And I think really setting things up from a health standpoint of remembering consistency is king and setting it up on something that you can do for a long period of time. And when those small wins add up, the outcome of it is typically much bigger than the input on a day-to-day basis.
Definitely that compound effect. Seeing it
Exactly.
grow over time. Grow over time is awesome. And if somebody is interested to learn more about you, find out more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, look up Supply Chain Fitness on any social media, on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn at Dr. Mark Manera or supplychainfitness.com.
Perfect. Mark, thank you so much for coming on to stream. It was great having you on here again. And I love being able to talk to you all about what you're doing with Supply Chain Fitness, and got a little preview of what you're learning with ChatGPT. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Awesome. I really appreciate it, Billy. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Stream. And if you enjoyed listening to Dr. Mark Manera, I invite you to check out our previous interview with him last year, where we go into so many topics that we didn't even get to touch on today during this episode. It will definitely change your mindset when it comes to fitness.